The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Grant Pichet and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grant-Pichet.
Dr. Grant-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Good morning and welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen for the first time with both of us in the new studio.
Good morning.
It probably doesn't look any different to them, but it's vastly different for us.
Yes.
And this is the first time that we've both been in the studio together, and it warms my heart because
It's lovely, yeah, it's wonderful.
you're like butter pecan ice cream. Whenever I get to be in your presence, it's like butter pecan ice cream.
You're
It's
so
such
great.
a treat. But I'm here with Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet. Good morning.
Good morning, Shannon. Good morning, everyone. Please let us know how we sound. I
Yes.
just want to know how we're doing in the new studio. It's wonderful. I can't believe all the things you guys have put together.
Well, and there's more coming. You know, we're working it out day by day, but thrilled to be finally, moved in.
Physically in here,
It's good
yes,
to good to
yes.
be good to be here and good to be able to be here with you.
It's wonderful.
So we're going to be live for the next hour, and for those of you who maybe you're new to the show and have never seen, but maybe you saw Dr. Grant-Pichet on the rehearsal. I know we've had some new viewers who have tuned in because they saw you there. An amazing, you were so amazing on that show,
you're
I
so
have
kind.
to say.
Thank you.
But if it's your first time here with us, Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is a true expert in the field of autism. She's been working in this field for more than 40 years. I think you're close to 45, and that just seems wrong to say because you sure don't look it.
I am past 45, I think.
That's just craziness. But that experience, that breadth of experience is so exciting when we get an opportunity to tour your beautiful mind. And
Thank
that's
you, Sean.
really what this hour is about, that Dr. Grant-Pichet donates this hour to talk to the world about things having to do with autism. Now, we always have a starting topic, and our starting topic today is social challenges. But we'll take questions about absolutely anything. We're live. Oh, we already have people. Hi, Michelle, and hi, Rodney. So thrilled that you guys are here. We're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I guess I have to start calling that X, but I just really
I know,
don't.
right? No one does.
No,
Everybody
it's
calls
Twitter.
it Twitter.
There we go. And then keep in mind, we love it when you guys are live and conversing with us, and you have the ability to reach out to us right now, just like Michelle and Rodney did, and our fabulous Chris Desmond, who has been working so hard to make this new studio space work. He's putting up already on the screen, you can see next to the tree, different ways that you can connect with the show. I want to remind you that Ask Dr. Doreen has its own YouTube channel, very robust YouTube channel with tons of videos that maybe the question that you're thinking of asking has already been answered in the last 14 years. That's a distinct possibility.
Right.
But we still love being able to talk with you because everybody is different, right?
Absolutely.
We do give the disclaimer that there is no expert in any field, but especially this field, that could give individual specific advice in this format. That would be a disservice to the individual, as it would be to the expert, right? That requires eyes on the situation and more information.
That's right.
But if you guys will write in and be as specific as possible, then Dr. Grant-Pichet has an opportunity to tell you what she knows about that topic. And as so many of you have written in, it's life-changing when we get to hear what she has to say.
Thank you.
Monia says, hi, both. So happy to be with you. We're so happy that you're here, too. I think I may have slaughtered your name, and I apologize if I did. But that's really how you guys do it. You can write in. I want to address, though, that many of you, in fact, we know the lion's share of you that partake of the show are listening in podcast. That's a format that's just really easy. It's a free download wherever you get your podcasts. Please check that out. If you're getting the free download, then you will get advertising because that's just sort of that's how we make it free for you. If that gets in the way of your enjoyment of it and you really just want to have it ad free, all you have to do is go to glow.fm/autismlive. For $5 a month, you literally get everything that we do at the Autism Network, including Ask Dr. Doreen. It shows up in your inbox. You don't have to wait for it. It's right there, and it's all ad-free for $5 a month.
Right.
It's really not about making money off of you. It's about defraying the cost of it. So please participate in that. We also have a special birthday today that we have to give a shout out because it is the fabulous Sarah Twaddell's
Yes,
birthday.
it is. That's right. I didn't know you know.
I
That's
came
right.
down and sang happy birthday to her this
Oh,
morning.
that's so nice.
We adore her. She's one of the things that keeps the wheels on everything.
Oh, including on me.
Well,
Mainly on me. She keeps my wheels on. Yes, she's
but
fantastic.
all of us.
Yes.
She's really an incredible person, and we're already talking All Ghouls Gala. She and I are confabbing about it, and so she's what makes that thing. You and she
Well,
make that.
it's all her.
And
would
then
not
I
do
run
it
around
without
and
her.
do little. I put out little fires and
Well,
create
you
little
and
fires.
her. I would say you and her
Well,
are the
she
main.
does so much more than I do.
She does so much.
Oh
It's
my
amazing.
goodness.
Yeah.
She's incredible. So
I'm
we
sure
love her.
she starts dreading it right around now. Because there's so
No,
much to be organized.
She seemed kind of excited today.
I hope so.
See, I always get around you and I get a tickle in my throat. It's terrible.
Oh dear.
I know. What is that about? Okay, so our topic today is social challenges. I'm going to launch into a question and then I might cough. Excuse me, Chris. I'm so sorry. Is there a reason why people on the spectrum seem to flock together? It seems like I will meet one person on the spectrum and then they immediately introduce me to their 7 friends who are also on the spectrum. Excuse me. I am not on the spectrum, but I truly cherish and respect my friends who are on the spectrum. Aren't there other non-autistic people who feel the same?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that makes perfect sense if you think about it, because we all kind of tend to flock to those who are similar to us, right, in some way or another. Or I should say those with whom we can communicate better, right? And I think it's actually a really interesting question, because when I like to try to put myself in the shoes of anyone that I'm talking about, including a lot of my friends and colleagues and patients who are on the spectrum. And I think that the comfort level, obviously, with each other is higher for lots of different reasons. So they understand each other better. They understand that they don't have as many expectations. They don't feel uncomfortable because they think they're being judged. Their social language is the same or similar, more similar, I would say. And I think in general, it's funny, we always used to say that in general, when a child is getting to adolescence, let's say, and needs to find their social circle, I would always tell parents, try to look for people who are similar or have similar interests. I will always remember one of my very, very, very early patients really started to thrive when he found his niche, and his niche happened to be a group of kids in computer science.
Yep.
This was before the days of robotics, you know.
Yeah.
And so you know this also, like with Minecraft, and like there's so
yeah.
many kids that when you find kids who are, or people who have the same interests, then obviously you're going to flock together. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
I didn't watch The Big Bang Theory when it first came out, and I know that there's a lot of people in the community who don't love it.
I love that show. It's
I
so
do.
good.
I love it. And I found that it, made a certain amount of sense with me, but it also gave me hope. When I started watching it, it was right at that phase where Jem was a little bit older, and I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to find his people? Do you know? And that hadn't happened yet. It has since happened. But
That's awesome.
I loved that they had all found their people and that they had found their love interest too.
Right.
It just made me very happy.
Right.
And they all had different things.
Yes.
And they all, I look at it and supposedly there's only one person on the spectrum, but everybody, was in a different, but they were accepting and not accepting to the degree that people are.
Right.
I enjoyed it.
Right.
I really
right,
enjoyed it.
Right. That's
So
so true.
I love that. And, we just went on Saturday, we went to the Ed Asner poker tournament.
Oh, how was that?
It was very fun. And tomorrow we're going to show you a clip from some of the, by the way, Jenny McCarthy said to say hello to you.
Okay, that's great.
So
Thank you.
she was there. But it was interesting because there were so many different types of people at that event. And there were a lot of adults that were on the spectrum. that were there and representing.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were a lot of autism moms that were there, but then there were a lot of celebrities. It was like these different, and poker players.
Yes.
But it was very interesting because I would find myself hanging out with all the adults on the spectrum
Yes.
because I was more comfortable with them.
Yeah.
And at one point, it kind of merged the moms and the folks on the spectrum. Amy Gravino was there, and I don't know if you've gotten to meet her yet.
I have, through
she's
you.
She's so delightful.
She's so funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yes.
And whenever I go to a conference, I gravitate to wherever Amy is because she's real. And I know that if the back of my skirt is stuck up in my underwear, Amy's going to go, your skirt, no one else will. No one else will. But Amy will be real with me.
Right,
And
right.
I'd rather be with the real people.
Sure.
And I was explaining that to somebody that, you know, it's a joke between Amy and I that, you know, she's my comfort whenever I go
that's
someplace.
lovely. That's lovely.
And yes, so
Absolutely. So
I
this
would
makes
rather be
sense.
with folks on the spectrum.
Okay, so that's a different question because I think even I would rather be because they're just such pure, lovely human beings.
And they're not gonna, there's no game.
There's no game. It's all very real,
Yes.
100%. But I think just in general, just not even just thinking of them, I think every human being flocks towards people who are similar in some way, right? And interests and communication style. This is why, like, you know, I was born in Iran, but I've grown up in the States. But I still, a very large number of my friends are Iranians.
Yeah,
And why is that?
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's just because we have a similar culture.
yes.
So you have these similarities and you tend to flock together.
You've tried to explain Iranian humor to me before. And
It's-
I don't get it as much as I see you sit and laugh with somebody else, and then you try to explain it to me, and I
Right.
don't get it.
Right.
I'm
there's-
starting to.
It's a very different culture and a rich culture, and it's has still influenced us, even though we are, you know, the diaspora of Iranians in the U.S. is like hundreds of thousands of people for over 45 years.
Yeah, yeah.
But it still is part of us. Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
the same kind of concept here. It's just
Yeah.
like people who get you.
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Nicholas, we're saying hi to you as well. Love that you guys are here, and let us know if you guys have any questions, those of you who are watching live. I want to go to this next question. I hope you can help me. We are working hard to help my son, who is 6 and diagnosed with autism, to navigate the world. To that end, we have really been targeting social skills this year. We have taught him to take turns, to share, and to be a good friend. This summer, we are noticing that that really doesn't go both ways. And I feel so bad for this parent. We have been having play dates with different kids from his class. These are kids who are considered, and she puts in quotation marks, typical learners. And not only do they not share, their parents aren't asking them to share. I wish I could say it was just one kid, but it seems to be all of them. In front of the parents, I will prompt my son to share his toys, which he does, and I praise him for it. Then he asks if he can play with the other kid's toy, and the child says no, and the parent does nothing. The other day, I said something to the parent about how we are teaching our son to share. Is she also teaching her son to share? And she told me no. Those are his toys. He doesn't have to share. I was appalled. But it seems like this is the thing with all of the parents. So, do I tell my son he doesn't have to share? Isn't that bad? But it seems so unfair to have to share your toys with people who won't share theirs. I want to be fair, like you always say.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to try to help here. There's two, you have to divide this issue into two. So the first part of this, I have so many comments on this. So the
Yes.
first part of this is you raise your child however you see fit, not how other parents are. So you have decided that it is an important thing to teach your child to share. And I agree with that. That would be something I would do. It doesn't mean that everyone believes that.
Yeah.
So you will want to continue teaching your child how to share. You will therefore, for that purpose, for the purposes of teaching him how to be a very generous and sharing human being, you will need to find peers who are the same. You will find peers who are going to model that behavior, who are going to give back in the same way, who are going to participate in this whole activity of teaching our kids how to be generous and share. Those are not these peers. You will have to find different peers that can help you with that, right? That's a separate issue. The other side of this is, look at this as an opportunity to teach your child two other things. One is rejection, right? So he's trying to share and asking them to share, and they're saying no. That's rejection, and that's an opportunity for your child to learn how to deal with rejection. When someone says no, to think about how you feel about that. And more importantly, the second thing to teach is perspective taking. For him to be able to think for a minute, oh, this person might think, what's leading them to not want to share their toy? What is their perspective? Maybe they think, I'm going to steal their toy and never give it back, whatever it is. But these are other things your child can learn. And the truth is, we go through life and we learn these things, right? We learn how to deal with people. Sometimes it gets us down, it's exhausting, it's stressful, obviously, all of that, it's saddening, but it teaches us that people are different. We need to be accepting, I guess, of how people are. It's not a reflection on us. We can continue to be who we strive to be despite how other people. All of these are lessons that your child could be gaining from this interaction. But these are not the right peers.
Yeah.
So these are the two things. Find another person who will share. And I'm sure there are kids out there whose parents consider this to be an important thing.
Yeah.
So that's the two sides. You got to divide them.
And I don't know. Sometimes I think if you find, I'm just going to say what our experience was, that we are not people who go to church. Judge me. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
But what we found was that the neighbor across the way, I used to teach at BYU, so I'm very familiar with the Mormon religion. They happen to be Mormon, and they had similar values, that the sharing thing. And then we had friends that there was a group of kids, and they were Jewish, and they had similar values. So I think if you're really looking for people, sometimes finding people who are spiritual and accepting, you don't have to be the same religion as. Neither one of those groups of people felt that we needed to be Mormon or Jewish in order to play with their kids.
Right.
But they had very similar moral compasses,
right?
That, of how they wanted their kids to raise, and their kids shared.
Exactly.
And they were also very accepting of when my son made a mistake. They helped him to work through whatever the social thing was, and the kids taught him and stuck up for him, and it was very pleasant.
And this is so important, Shannon, because this is the first time that you get the chance as a parent to teach your child that he doesn't have to be like other people.
Yeah.
That's really, really important. Imagine if he gets, involved with a group of peers who make fun of others. That's just an example.
Yeah.
Or bully
And they're
others.
there.
And they're there. Your child, if he has already learned the lesson, I can be different.
Yeah.
I don't have to be like them.
Yeah.
That lesson will take him in so many paths, will give him success through life. That's a very important lesson that he could learn right now. They don't like to share. I still can share. I can
Right.
still share. It has nothing, people are different. I can still be the person that my parents approve of. Those are all really important lessons that I think will come out of this. But yeah, I understand. You want to have him around other kids who share, and they're out there. You just have to find them.
I just had a flashback to being a kid and saying to my mother, well, so-and-so gets to do something. And my mother's response was always, and if so-and-so was going to jump off a bridge, would you do that
it?
too?
Yeah.
Yeah, just had that
Yeah.
flashback. Okay, so our friend whose name I slaughtered the first time, it's a French name. How would you say that?
It's not a French name, but Munia.
Monia.
I think it's a maybe Moroccan name. Munia can tell us.
Okay, well, but they're living in France.
Yes.
She says, hi, Dr. Doreen. We live in France, and we don't really do play dates here.
Yeah.
Kids generally stay behind at school in large groups until 1800-ish, at which time they go back home directly. So my son can't do this as there is just too much sensory involved with hundreds of kids shouting and playing. My kid is not invited to birthday parties either, so has limited to no social interaction. Our friends don't have kids, and his cousins are spread around the world and not in France. How can I help him improve his social skills beyond the classroom? Great question.
Yeah, terrific question. And I wish we knew more about the school system in France. Unfortunately, we don't. If you were here in the States, I would immediately say, you know, you can take your child out a little early and set up activities yourself. I just don't know how it works in France.
Yeah.
I do think that you're in a situation where I guess two things that might help. One is set up an event regularly at your house, maybe on the weekends, and invite selectively. Invite kids that, like Shannon said, don't have to necessarily be from school or family. They could be neighborhood, they could be whatever, and invite those individuals. It doesn't have to be a large group either. It could be one other child.
Yeah.
In fact, it's better if you start with one other child and focus on that. Don't necessarily focus on what the environment gives you right now in school. Produce a new environment that works for you or for your child. And also think of clubs and like other places that you could enroll your child, whether it's an activity like gym or robotics, as I said, computers, crafts, art, music. I don't know what your child's interests are, but there are other ways to kind of engage your child, and you organize it. Don't wait for your child to be invited to these things. And then lastly, these days, fortunately, a lot of social interaction occurs online, actually.
Yeah.
So if there's a safe, and I repeat that, safe group of kids who are doing games that your child is also interested in, that's another way. I brought up earlier Minecraft, and there were lots and lots of group Minecraft, I guess groups, or I don't know how they were formed.
There's
You might know more.
Otcraft,
There's Otcraft.
which is a membership, but it's free. I believe it's still free. That was started by a dad who has two sons. He has since been diagnosed, and he has moderators that moderate it so that you don't have that negativity. And I also love the fact that it moderates it for your child as well too. So if your child is doing something socially inappropriate, they won't just boot him off, which is what
Right.
will happen on another server. They'll say, here are what the rules are.
Yes.
So it actually trains your child up. But we've all had the experience that our kids, they build up this whole thing in Minecraft, and then somebody comes in and for the fun of it burns it down. They don't allow that in Otcraft, and
Right.
there's no profanity. I do want to say that she wrote back in and said that the name is Algerian.
There you go.
And that her son is 5. But
Yeah.
5, some parents don't want the video games at 5, but a lot of 5-year-olds play Minecraft.
Absolutely. There are video games that are very appropriate for,
Yeah.
like Minecraft is one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of really good social interaction occurs in these groups. If you have a well-moderated group like Otcraft, it's fantastic. You would be amazed how it's so beneficial in so many ways. You know, it's not just about, we're so focused on trying to get our kids to learn social behavior, which I hope the suggestions that we gave you are helpful for that, but also keep an eye on I guess the self-esteem, and how not being able to join other groups is a continual message to the child that I'm not good enough. So I would really stop trying to push him into other groups, and instead I would really focus on finding the type of environment that is conducive to him being social, and actually build that, produce that. If there isn't a group that you can enroll him in, maybe you can get together with some other parents and produce that.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what you have to do, I think.
And I have to
It's
say,
hard.
the amazing Bryce Myler, whose
Yeah,
footprints
yeah.
in the snow I was always following, and because Bryce's son was significantly, like 10 years older than my son.
Yeah.
And so I would always ask her at every juncture, and I know she had said to me, She said, you have to make your house the most fun place to go.
Absolutely.
It has to be the place where, and she recommended one at a time, but then you go from one to two, and
two,
it's
and
so much harder.
that's right.
And then when you go to three, it's a nightmare. Because sometimes they will gather together and play without your child. Like,
Right.
it's a thing, but you have to go through each one of those steps.
And she actually, you know, when her son was young, I remember very well that he was part of a three
Yes.
member friendship,
Yeah.
and they were very tight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but figuring out like what is the thing, and
Yep.
and at different junctures, at different ages, it's different things. I am so anti-gun. You won't find a person who's more anti-gun than me. But you know, they were all into those the Nerf guns.
Oh, right.
And yet, you know, it wasn't my favorite thing. But we had Nerf gun parties
Yeah.
where I would rent a place where they could go and shoot as many, and I would buy boxes
Right.
of ammo
Right.
because it was a social thing.
Absolutely.
Like I was willing to do
So
whatever.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Or here, of course, we have those big trampoline places.
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget what they're called.
Yeah,
You know,
bouncy
in
places.
Bouncy.
But it's like a facility.
They're massive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Therefore, they can go all the way to adult, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think in France, you're looking at like indoor playgrounds, which are much more common than they are here. Lots of, depending on what your child's into. Like, you
Yeah.
know, you could have a child who's completely not into physical things and more into musicals. I don't know. But find that group, because that's where it's going to happen.
And have that play date at your house. And we were always
Yes.
told by Bryce, you know, find out whatever the particular thing is at that point. Like at one point it was Beyblades, so we had the Beyblades at the house, right? But then find out what the food is too.
Yes.
And sometimes we were sending my husband to go to 4 different drive-throughs so everybody could get the type of fast food that made them happy, because then it made them want to be at our house.
Yes.
And that, I need to thank Bryce 18 more times a day, because it became, that translated to school.
Absolutely.
And they protected him. He was part of a group,
yes.
and that, you know, he was bully proof, and people tried to get in good with him because they heard it was so fun to come to the house that they were allowed to have popcorn wars.
Yeah.
Because I would vacuum afterwards.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
it was an hour of vacuuming for an hour of joy for my kid.
That's right.
We prioritized it.
It's so
It
important.
was hard, but it
Yeah.
was worth it.
Absolutely.
It was really worth it. And to see the joy
yes.
was really good. And I have to say that solves the birthday party thing too.
Yes.
We always made the rule that, and we didn't have the money, and we figured it out, but every single kid in his class would be invited to the birthday party, and we would make that birthday party epic.
Exactly.
And so everybody would come to the birthday party, and then he would get an invite to each one of those kids, and we went to every single birthday party.
Yeah.
And usually we took a BT with us to the
Yeah,
birthday party.
yeah.
But that, you know, that starts to solve the birthday party.
That's
if
right.
you invite all the kids, and you make sure, like when he was 5, we had the birthday party at the Build-A-Bear.
Right.
And every kid got a bear before they left the Build-A-Bear.
yeah.
And you know, it was an expensive party, but
Yeah.
not that much really when you compare it to everything else. But parents were calling and saying, "Can we bring a sibling?" And I would say yes to everyone.
Yeah.
We packed that place, and everybody got a Build-A-Bear.
You know, so
And every party after
and
that,
that's
he was
such
invited
a,
to.
yeah, that's an amazing thing. But we don't know your child, and so we
That's
don't
true.
know his ability to interact with all these things that were thrown out at you. It might be that he really, right now at this phase in his life, is not able to engage in those types of social activities. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that, you know, obviously if he is, then be the person that throws those events and parties for sure. And if he's not, start slow, start with one other child, and produce an activity that he is able to engage in, whatever that might be. Whether it's having one adult there teaching both of them how to do crafts, or, you know, something very low-key, easy, simple, like something that where he can be successful, have one other child there. redesign what you're talking about in terms of social. Definitely don't, I would not recommend throwing your child into a group, a large, chaotic group of other kids. It's just not going to be successful at that point.
Thank you. I get off on a tangent.
Well,
You
no,
always
not
bring
at
me
all.
back.
It's just
No, no,
I
no,
don't
it's
know,
good.
like if this child is able to manage
Yeah,
that.
but they said thank you, and they said I will create these opportunities.
Awesome.
Amazing, amazing. What are the rules? Oh, this is a good one. What are the rules around being around your ex-boyfriend? I was recently diagnosed as autistic. I am 17, and people tell me all the time that what I do is inappropriate. But they only wait until after I have done something wrong to tell me I am wrong. And when I ask them, what am I supposed to do, they don't always tell me. Recently, I was at a family event for a graduation party with lots of people. My ex was there with his new girl. I went up to her and was talking to her, which I thought was okay, but people told me I should have acted like they weren't there and left them alone. I just asked her questions about herself, not about him. Is that wrong? Is there a book filled with these ridiculous rules that I could just read? I just want to hug them.
That's an awesome question. And you know, from depending on who you ask, I think they'll tell you different things. Like from my perspective, that's perfectly fine. You did absolutely nothing wrong.
Right.
Why not talk to someone who's dating your ex? That there's nothing wrong with that. So I've done that many times, and I don't think there's anything wrong that you did. People have different perspectives. I think that's part of the thing that you need to recognize. But no, you know what? There isn't a book. And it sounds like you are at an age where you could start writing that book because
There you go.
truthfully, that would be a very useful book to a lot of people. And these are such subtle rules of society that no one really ever put them all in one place.
Yeah.
So, you know, as you're experiencing them, write them down. It would be so valuable to others.
I used to bug Ev Kung. You know what I wanted? I wanted a little, you know how they make those sleeves and it's got a little red part in it where you read the answer for the right thing?
Yes.
I wanted a thing like that, but it would have been too long. Where people, it was like when this happens and then you pull the sleeve to that point and it tells you what the answer, what the social situation. Wouldn't that benefit so many people?
Absolutely.
Now we have
And it's
apps.
so many. There's so many,
you
and
know.
it's so hard. And even an app like that doesn't exist.
I know,
right?
but we should
Social
have an
rules.
app instead of the
100%.
slide thing.
100%.
And actually, our next question really along the same lines. Is there a place that I can learn more about social stuff at work? I am 26 and work at a firm that handles legal cases about divorce. It seems like most of the employees go out on Fridays after work. I have never done that, but I would like to. I don't know what is okay to talk about if you work together. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that is so prevalent right now, the fear. I hear this from young people all the time about they're afraid to go in a social situation because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, going back to what we just said, Shannon, that there isn't a book for that, right?
Yeah,
There's also not a book for things like how do you do social behavior. There actually might be more written on the subject of appropriate social behavior at work. There might be, but it's still a very good thing to start writing, right? Because there's a lot of people who need this kind of feedback. I will say that others have gone to their HR department and have said, can you please develop a program of training for others so that both I learn and they learn how to fit in. It's a very important thing. A lot of organizations, larger organizations, do have training for both sides. There's a training for other employees to really know how to encourage an individual who has autism to come and join and to be more accepting and so on. But also another part of that training is for the individual to know the rules of society at work, and also to know that they often, other organizations will give that person kind of a consultant or someone that they can go to have those conversations. We used to have this situation with one of our prior patients who was working at CARD, and I think it was very, very useful to that individual to be able to in the morning go and have a conversation about what happened yesterday or how they're behaving or what's okay and what's not okay with their with their consultant or with their mentor. We called it a mentorship meeting,
Yeah.
mentor meeting.
And now there are people who you can, contact and hire. Now they're calling it job coaching for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But specifically for folks on the spectrum.
Absolutely.
And going in and doing that
was
kind
like-
of thing. It's
because
hard
they're
though.
it's very hard because they're first of all, I think no one realizes, people who are not affiliated with this field don't realize that someone who has autism is never going to do something that's mean intentionally, right? They're never going to do something harmful to another person. That's just not in their nature. If they do something, they have no bad intent. And I remember that this individual that I was talking about used to do certain things completely unaware of the fact that those behaviors could be perceived as scary or creepy or whatever it is. And it was important for us to step in and both explain to the individuals who took the behavior in a wrong way, as well as to the individual. There was a
Yes.
learning opportunity to say, when you do this from that person's perspective, it's a little bit scary. So don't do this. Do it
Right.
this way. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, those things are very important.
And Parker has written in, Parker, I'm going to go in the reverse
Parker.
order. Parker says, at my old job, I never needed that training from the get-go. I worked fast food, and basically I was accepted how I was, and people advocated for me, but not all jobs are like that. Parker also said, hi, ladies, I'm going to a wrestling event next Monday with my best guy friend. It will be so tough, but I'm working on it. The sensory stuff, my pirate mouth, etc. I don't think I've ever heard that expression before, Parker, but I think I know what it means, and I have a pirate mouth too. At some point, Parker, you and I have to hang out. But you know this about me. I act very, proper because I used to teach, but I have a pirate mouth in person.
I don't know.
Have you not heard me swear a blue streak? Have you never heard that?
I
I can
know,
swear three
no.
Russian sailors
That's
under the
hilarious.
table.
I love
have
that.
a potty mouth.
I love it. I love
Um,
it. And it's always good to hear back from Parker. Hope you're doing well, Parker.
And Parker, one of the many things that I adore about you, Parker, is that you have this amazing self-awareness.
Incredible self-awareness.
The fact that you're going to an event, you know
Incredible.
it's going to be loud, you know that they're going to be shouting, people are going to be shouting things, and that you're going to have to monitor some of the things that you say.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I think that's amazing because there's a whole lot of people there who won't be thinking about the fact
That's
that they have
right.
to monitor what they say. So, Parker, I think you're amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want to get to another question that was written in. What do you recommend for social skills for a teen that doesn't want to be identified as being autistic, but he is and needs social help? I hear this all the time.
Yeah. There's a lot of thoughts around that. I'm not sure the relationship here of the person writing in to the teen because, I think it first starts with, what the individual wants. Not necessarily, sometimes you could say if the individual is very young or not able to speak for themselves, then I think obviously then we have to go with what the guardian or parent wants, right, for them, because that is the person who cares about them the most. It's not always ideal because the guardian or parent might want something for them that is completely just not something they would want. We don't know, but there's no way to know any better because they can't speak for themselves. But it sounds like this is an individual who can speak for themselves because they're so minimally, different that they would like to not even be recognized as having autism, right? And the other side of me, there's always this very protective side of me as a clinician because there's so many people, like this whole experience that I had with going on the rehearsal.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying and asking me and apparently asking Nathan,
Yeah.
Do you have autism? And he doesn't, and he wouldn't be diagnosed as autistic today if I was to look at him and look at his symptoms. But people tend to assume things.
Yeah.
And so my first reaction to this question is, this is someone saying he has autism, right? The person who wrote in. How do you know that?
Yeah.
If the person doesn't want to get diagnosed, that means they've not been diagnosed. And until they've been diagnosed, we don't have a diagnosis.
Right.
Done. Period. So then I really even if you have a diagnosis, I think the way that to look at things is a little bit different for me. The diagnosis doesn't mean that tomorrow things have to be different. It's not that cut and dry. It's really more about the symptoms. So if you have, let's say, the symptoms where certain social situations are difficult for you, dive into that more and figure out what about the social situation is wrong, is difficult, what makes it awkward. Is it that I am not able to see other people's perspective? That's usually one of the big things. Is it that I don't understand slang? Is it that I'm culturally different? Is it that I can't read people's facial expressions? I get too close physically. I don't listen to people. I walk away when they're There's like 6 million things that go into social behavior. Find that, get more into what that is and work on that, right? Yeah. It's kind of like what I always say about anxiety, right? What are the exact things that cause that anxiety, or how is it defined? And let's work on those things. Because when you look at a diagnosis, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
We're not helping anything by just saying, oh, this individual has a diagnosis.
I want to add more to this, but I do want to say that Parker, Marianne has written in and would like for us to define what a pirate mouth is. I think that it's when you say off-color things that maybe wouldn't be, like swearing.
Yeah.
But Parker, tell us if that's what you meant by that. That's what I meant by it. But I do want to say that, because what I meant when I said, I feel like I get this question a lot. Lately, I've been talking with a lot of parents who have teenagers, a lot of them that maybe got the diagnosis like 11, 12. Mm-hmm. So they have great vocal skills. Mm-hmm. They missed the diagnosis early, but they're having lots of problems socially. Mm-hmm. And then when they in most of these cases, they've disclosed to the now teen who's maybe 14, 15, 16, that, part of the reason why you're having the issues that you're having is that you have this diagnosis, mm-hmm. whatever, but the kids aren't motivated to work on the things. And right. The parents are saying, you have to go to the social skills class, you have to go to ABA, you have to do this, and the kids are like, I don't want to go to that because it says it's for people who are autistic, and I mm-hmm. don't identify that, mm-hmm. even though they have the diagnosis. So I think I think everything that you said was really helpful, but I think I would love to hear you talk about, for the parent, mm-hmm. how you get the buy-in from your kid, and why it's maybe not important for it to be labeled, like you just said.
Yeah, I just don't know how, and maybe this is just my opinion or my perspective. I think I just come from a place where I feel like sometimes we want our kids to participate in certain activities that are just not meant for them. Like, some other kids, for example, are not athletic. Let's mm-hmm. look at it that way. Yeah. So they don't want to get into sports teams. We're okay with that.
Yeah.
So why is it that we define something as social and then want our kids to definitely join that? Yeah. Because another social activity, today's social activities are very different from the social activities we used to have when I was a kid, right? Mm-hmm. And so that would be like 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. Social activities did not involve any kind of technology, obviously. You were pretty much socializing with people in your neighborhood. Yep. Very different. What was it? You were like, I don't know, sitting there looking at magazines, throwing balls around outside. It was just right. very different, right? Yeah. You weren't even watching TV together because there wasn't anything on TV back then. So it's kind of like the definition of social has to do with being with other people, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you right off the bat that some of our kids are not really interested in being with other people unless you find people that are very similar to them.
You're right.
So that starts with, what are the things my child is interested in? How can I get my child a companion so that they're not alone? And what activities should those individuals be doing together, like my child and this other person, right? That goes back to what we were talking about before, which is find your child's niche and help them get into that. Don't have a preset definition in your head of social and what social needs to be. Now, that said, putting that aside, I think there is something to be said for the fact that kids in this generation are changing, generally speaking, in terms of social. Like, I feel like their manners and their style of communication, and especially in the US, by the way, things have changed over time. And if we see that that's not acceptable, then I think it's up to us as parents to try to reverse that and teach them. But I do think that social stuff has changed overall. Like, Shannon, when you and I were growing up, if your parents introduced you to someone, you would step in and shake hands.
Right.
That's ridiculous now.
Yeah.
No one will do that.
Yeah.
You would refer to people as Mr. and Mrs. until you were told not to.
Yeah.
No one does that. You don't even call your professors or your teachers by Mr. and Mrs. So things have changed. Do you know what I mean? So when we say that we need our kids who are very mildly affected to engage and learn those things, I agree. They need to learn lots of things like politeness and seeing other perspectives and being empathetic and all that sort of stuff. But let's start with what's appropriate today.
Yeah. But I love this because I hope what everybody heard, what I heard there is that instead of focusing on a social skills class that's for kids with autism, think about, what does your child love? What activity
100%.
What activity can they go do? And if
That's
you put
right.
that in them in that environment, they will start learning social skills
They'll
in
socialize.
that environment.
That's right.
That's amazing.
That's exactly.
So,
And that's like us, right?
and
That's
then,
like us.
And then your child is happier. But
Yeah.
then it requires you to think about what would make my child really happy.
That's where
And-
it starts. Not necessarily where will society be. Like, I want to make sure my child is not alone. That's where it starts. The whole social. I want a lot of
Yes.
lot of
That's the
parents say
fear.
to us, right? A lot of parents will say, "But I want my child in school because that's the only area where he'll get social skills."
yeah.
Right? That's an example of this.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
It
It is not
isn't at
true.
all.
Like, the truth is, sometimes in school, your child experiences antisocial activity. Like, he'll experience lots of things that will isolate him.
Yeah.
So I always want to start with what makes your child happy. Thank you for summarizing it that way, because that's much better said. What makes your child happy? What are the things that they want to engage in? Is it crafts? Is it yoga? Is it athletics? Is it music?
Is it a Harry Potter camp?
Is it a Harry Potter camp? Is it
What is it?
robotics? What is it? And carpentry. I have another child who just got into woodworking, and that's where his thing is. But it's like, find that and then get into that, because I promise you, your child will find happiness there. They will find other people who are into that. That will develop social relationships and interactions and so on.
And if you're not sure, I always
Play
say,
around.
Yeah, like I always say, it's like throwing the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Have fun.
And you don't have to take a class that's 6 weeks. Go and
That's right.
say, can we watch a class and see? We used to try to take my son to just everything
Yeah.
to see what he was interested in.
Yeah.
My favorite thing was the Pasadena Philharmonic used to have a musical petting zoo.
Nice. Isn't that amazing?
And I was
Wow.
like, what is this? Are they going to bring goats in and play music? No, they lay out every instrument and they get to try every instrument. Don't you want to go to that?
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Oh, amazing. And then, instead of going and renting an instrument and finding out they don't like that instrument, they get to play every instrument.
Absolutely.
And they would clean them. This was before the pandemic, but they would clean them really well even then. Okay, so Parker did define for us, and I was correct, it means talking like a sailor, swearing, off-color remarks, etc. The saying is talking like a sailor, and pirates are also similar. So we were right. So now we have defined pirate mouth. I love it. I'm going to be saying that now. Parker also said that for a lot of people, autism is a very big social stigma. Either they baby you to no end and try to protect you, or
It is.
you're bullied to no end.
It is.
And he says, I was on both sides in my life. I feel for this kid. And he says, I had problems being alone.
Yeah.
So thank you for adding that. Wanted to see if I can
Agreed,
squeeze a couple of
Parker.
more short questions. Well, here's one that's sort of right where we just were. What is a good activity for teens to do to make friends?
Yeah.
And we already listed a bunch of different things, but there's no end to it.
No, there's no end to it. Honestly, it's that it goes back to the whole concept of the find your child's reinforcers.
Yeah.
It all starts there, right?
And you know, I particularly love theater classes, but it's got to be the right kid for that. And then you know, some kids want to dance and some want to put together Legos.
That's right. That's
And-
right.
and
Exactly.
And it's like, what is their thing?
And if you force the child into something they're not into, not only will they not succeed, they
Yeah.
will not socialize, they will be upset about it, they will avoid that activity for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to really listen, and every child is different.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I take my daughter to a social skills class that's full of boys, isn't there anything for girls? I think it goes right
Oh.
back to what we were saying.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I did get a mom who contacted us, Shannon, and she was saying something similar. And she was saying that my child is older now, you know, and as a teen, and I want a social group for her that are just girls. We actually ended up setting one up for her here at CARD, but it is very interesting. You just have to find the kids who are out there, and it just, you know, one other kid, two other kids, and you're good to go.
There are a couple of online groups that are just for girls, but they're for older girls. If
Yeah.
you have one who's 17, 18
Exactly.
and up, they even have a women's business group for women who are diagnosed on the spectrum.
That's amazing.
But for younger girls, I hope they still exist. There was a group called Rebel Girls.
Nice.
And they this group was particularly into anime and books.
Nice.
And they would meet online, and they would have like they would read a book, or what do you call the anime books? There's a specific name for
Yeah,
them.
I know
can't
which
think what
ones
those.
you're talking about.
A manga.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They would read a manga together and then discuss it
Nice, nice.
and be able to talk about issues
That's
that
so
they were
nice.
having. So
we're
search.
just starting this now as well, online groups for different age groups and different
good.
levels.
So good.
Yeah, and also obviously now you reminded me kind of different genders, I guess, because
Yeah.
some people really do want to be just all female or all male.
Yeah. And I think the girls have a particular, you know, I mean, there's a particular
very
that
different.
doesn't meet with the boys.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Why would it,
I mean, with us, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I hated playing with my cousins because all they had were soldiers and trucks.
Right. Right.
Because they were boys, you know, and I
Right.
wanted just like dolls and stuff like that.
But you and I could also go to a craft class and have a really good time.
Absolutely, absolutely. But put me in a music class and I'm dead.
Oh, yeah, no, me too. I'll dance, but forget it. I can't do anything else. And I'll be off the beat. Our Journey Cameron's New Life would like to know, hello, will CARD ever come back to Southern Oregon?
I know. I wish we could and would. We have tried very, very hard to talk to the payers in Oregon. And, you know, the thing about Oregon is that when we were there and we had 10 sites in Oregon, we were all Medicaid. Like, we just did a lot of work with Medicaid. And I have to tell you, it was difficult. It's difficult working with Medicaid funding because there's lots of regulations, there's lots of procedures that delay things and are unnecessary, and we had a very hard time getting any kind of funding for a lot of our patients. The funding is way, way, way lower than commercial pay, which is fine because we could still, the way that we could manage it, and this is the real answer, is that at that time, if you remember, we had over 200 clinics, right? 260 at one point. And when you have 10 clinics that are losing money and you have 250 that are okay, it balances the whole company out. But unfortunately, the prior management, the folks who bought CARD, shut a lot of clinics down, right? And right now we only have 110. So it's a very different, I have to be very, very careful and make sure that the company never goes through what it went through, which led to bankruptcy. And so part of that is just being very cautious who we partner with. That said, we've reached out to all the Medicaid organizations in Oregon to ask what our rates would be if we came back. And we can't even get an answer on that. Like, Medicaid is just so difficult to deal with. And I'm so sad because there were hundreds of families who were abandoned when they shut down all of our Oregon sites. And I have to also say, at that time, and this is the truth, I'm very transparent about these things, Medicaid did end up offering the prior ownership of CARD a really good rate, and they just decided not to take it.
Yeah. And
If I got that back, we would definitely open.
there we go. And I'll tell you what that takes is a group of parents getting together and saying, let's make this happen.
That's
That's
true.
really where the power is. We've seen that over and over and over again. When a group of parents says, okay, we're going to go and talk to the legislators, that's when stuff happens.
Right. That's
They
right.
did say we miss you, and that CARD
Thank
was my
you.
son's happy place.
Thank you.
And I have seen the pictures. He's an
I hope
amazing
he's
little
doing
man
well.
now.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. Okay, one more question, and then I got to get you out of here. How do you work on social skills with a nonverbal 3-year-old?
Yeah. So, okay, that's a fantastic. I'm so glad that question came up because really, I think social skills. This is really good. This is the way to answer this. When you look at just development, human development, and this actually mirrors what happened in the diagnosis of autism as well. Years ago, the diagnosis of autism had 3 domains. Social and communication were separate. And then the last version, DSM-5, that came out in 2013, the 2 were merged, right? Social communication was into one domain. Why? Because social depends on communication. You can really have very, very limited social behavior if you can't communicate. So with your child, focus on the communication part. Don't worry about social. Focus on language communication. Let's get your child to be able to, even it doesn't have to be vocal, it can also be through an OG device, but let's get your child to a point where they can actually communicate. And that starts with communicating their own needs, then describing the environment, and then 1,000 other forms of communication. But all of that kind of thing has to happen, so focus your energy on that, because there's so many benefits to that. When that comes around, social will start to happen. But how are you going to interact with another person when you can't communicate?
Yeah.
So that's the focus.
And I want to go back to something that you said before, because I know everybody wants their child to go to school. That is everybody's. It's normal to want your child to go to school.
Yes.
But everybody thinks, because there is a law in the United States that if your child is 3 and diagnosed with autism, then the school has to legally to offer your child a program.
Right.
And everybody goes, woohoo, I got a program from the school, not realizing that that is not the best program for your child.
Right.
It just isn't. We can show you the science. The best program for your child is an intensive ABA program, and we can show you that science as well. But unfortunately, parents don't know, and they put their child into a program at school which actually it can either maintain or make it aversive for your child so that your child doesn't want to go to school.
And
so
the reason,
just remember that, you guys. It is not the best.
Right. And you have to, as a parent, I'm sure this will resonate with you. Part of the reason for that attraction to school is that neurotypical kids are in school.
And it feels normal.
And it feels like, oh, this is where my child's going to go to become normal.
Right. It'll all work out.
It'll all work out. Let me just put my child in school. That if my child goes to school, that means he's not that severe. Like, there's all these little things, right? It has nothing to do with it. Think of it this way. This is the environment you're putting your child in for the vast majority of his day. What is the best use of his time? That's all.
I spend a large portion of my day explaining to parents and saying, yeah, legally they had to offer you this, but it's a beater car.
Yeah.
It's a beater car, and you have the Lexus that's already, and with the funding for it, and you're choosing the beater car for your child.
Right.
Don't do it. Did you see the most recent comment from our friend who said, press on, Doreen, with the noble and critical work you do?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
love that. And we appreciate that from you. Okay, so I think we actually might have one more minute because that clock is wrong. But then I
Okay.
promise I'm going to get you out of here.
Sure.
But I do want to say that we're live tomorrow. We have a guest who's going to be with us who I've never had on the show before. He has a book that's called The DNA Answer. And he wants to talk specifically about, we've been hearing a lot from Senator Kennedy about or not Senator Kennedy, excuse me. He's considered, what is he considered?
He's Secretary of
Secretary
HHS,
Kennedy.
yes.
That's the word I'm looking for. That we're going to hear the cause very soon. This gentleman wants to talk about the fact that there's so much research that really is moving into the causes.
That's
which
awesome.
we certainly have
That's
talked about
awesome.
before on the show. So we're going to talk intensively about that tomorrow. We also are going to show some video from some of the amazing people that we talked to at the Ed Asner Poker Tournament.
How lovely.
It was, a really interesting event. So all of that will be happening tomorrow. We
Great.
got a lot of fun shows coming up. On Monday, we are having the star of a new show that has just debuted on Saturday. I didn't get to see it yet, but I've heard really amazing things. That the lead character on PBS is a young woman on the spectrum, played by a young woman on the spectrum.
Oh,
and
nice.
she'll be with us on Monday.
That's wonderful.
Live to talk about what it's like doing this new show.
I love it.
And so that's going to be really fun. So you guys will want to tune in for that. Now we're out of time, but I can't thank you enough.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
You are
Thank
such
you
a
for.
light on this
It's
planet.
so nice to be here with you.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
It's
Hannah.
just butter pecan ice cream. There we go. And so thrilled to be here with you guys as well. We'll see you tomorrow. You won't want to miss that show. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you as well. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.